When people can't relate, when they really can't relate, they make shitty assumptions. Feeling judged by your friends, family, and colleagues. Feeling shame or embarrassment post-breakup. It's tough, it happens. But I'm going to give you a different perspective on this, because it's going to happen a lot when you're post-breakup, where you're like, wow, someone said that to you? They said that to me? But remember this quote: don't blame people for who they are. They're only going on their own life experience, what they've been through, what they've been taught. And really, that's all they know. So your situation, your breakup, your heartbreak, they're ignorant unless they've been there before. So I got a little story to share to put this in perspective. It was the 4th of July. I was about 28 years old. In pretty good shape. I was exercising regularly, had money in my pocket. More than money in my pocket. I had money saved up. The reason I'm saying this is I wasn't in shambles on the exterior, on the outside. I was attending a barbecue with my parents. That's right, 28 years old, good physical shape, money in my pocket, money in the bank. The host of the barbecue was my father's hunting buddy. A man who was doing well for himself. He lived on a golf course, had a beautiful pool at his home. He had a lifted truck with all the bells and whistles. 2 kids. A game room which featured a trophy caribou on the wall. He had a job where he made a shit ton of money. I think you get the picture. I'm not sure if all day at this barbecue on the 4th of July that I didn't see him once without a shit-eating grin on his face. His wife was attractive, not my type, but attractive. They were in love, or appeared to be in love. He just bought her a Lexus. She was able to stay at home and be that stay-at-home mom. Mike was a good guy. Deep down, I was happy for him. I really was. I wasn't happy myself at that moment on that day, but I was happy for him. As I mentioned before, I was in good physical shape, but inside, my soul felt sick with regret, shame, and loneliness. I regretted breaking up with my girlfriend. And it had been 4 months prior to this 4th of July shindig. I could have done things different. This ran through my mind as fast as blood pumped through my veins. I had shame for showing up to a 40-something-year-old family man's barbecue when I was single, 28 years old, in my physical prime. But I was lonely. I sat at a picnic bench, sipping a cold can of Bud Light. I didn't even like Bud Light. My mother would come over periodically to make a comment about someone who had just arrived. She seemed to know everyone's background. I wasn't interested. Just nodded blankly and listened with half an ear. My internal thoughts of my breakup I regretted consumed me. You know the feeling. Soon Mike would come over to the bench, with a smile only kids at Disneyland for the first time could hold longer. Hey, Mac, what the hell are you doing here with your parents? You're single, right? You got better places to go? He didn't realize it, but what little confidence I had, he just torched it. I didn't smile. It hurt. He thought he was being funny. I wasn't amused. My dad glared back at Mike with a, yeah, I know, type look. Thanks, Dad, piling on. I started thinking about how fucked up my dad was to my mom when I was young, and how it was pure luck he met Mom and she took his shit and she stuck with him. She never left him. Now my mind was shifting from shame to jealousy to contempt. Fuck, how did this happen? Stop it. I chimed at my mind. My mom leaned over. That wasn't very nice of Mike. That was rude. It was pity. But I embraced it. I agreed with my mom. My mind softly confirmed, yeah, that was rude. That was out of line. The barbecue continued. I let go of the fact that Mom stayed with Dad and Dad was a jerk when I was young. I had a good relationship with my dad now. Not even sure why I wandered into that place. I got back to the barbecue. The kids were doing cannonballs off the diving board. Neighborhood dads were downing beers, bullshitting about how properly barbecue ribs were to be made and marinated. Fuck, Mike was right. What was I doing here? The truth? I didn't have the strength to be around my friends that were in happy relationships or what seemed like happy relationships. I didn't really have anything else special to do. I certainly didn't want to stay at home, and it felt like all my buddies had girlfriends. But I'd played the third wheel a few times over the months and found it to be another confidence drain. Watching my buddy get lovey-dovey with his girl felt uncomfortable. And watching them nag each other brought the same. I had this one buddy, a good friend. All he wanted to do is, hey man, we'll hang out. And then he'd bring his fucking girlfriend. It's like, dude, going through a breakup right now, do you gotta bring her? He was in a new relationship. He had already gone through the breakup shit a year prior. Anyhow, I would accept, and we would hang out. But then he would tell me things like, hey man, you need to get a haircut and lower your standards. I'd think, thanks bro, that hurt. His girlfriend rifled through my closet without permission, announcing that I get rid of all my striped shirts. She hated striped shirts, she said. And guess what? I just bought one over the last weekend. My mind ran. Guess she's right, stripes are ugly. I was in a tailspin. I can't remember how the barbecue ended, but I still remember what Mike said. It's funny how hurtful moments come back to us so vividly. It would be years later, but Mike would find himself in my shoes. More on that later. Over a 4-year period, I taught public speaking at a university in Thailand. Each term I'd have about 35 to 40 students a class. There were good speeches and bad speeches, informative speeches, funny speeches. And there are those ones that grabbed your heart and slid it down your spine. Raining tingle would go down your back as the individual discussed a topic that truly touched me. To give you some background on public speaking, or my class, to be more specific, I taught my class that nothing beats a compelling human story that people could relate to. When giving a public speech or a public talk, telling a vivid story with twists and turns should captivate most of the audience. Over the years, I realized that no story or situation touches any person in the same way. One semester, my speech of the term was assigned. The topic was, when you faced a crisis in your life, what happened and how did you deal with it? Tell your story of it. I, of course, talked about my breakup and how much it affected me and how I was able to change the complete direction of my life through the breakup. I found out later that the crisis was really an opportunity to pursue what I really wanted. More on that and another later. They listened to my story. Some sighed, some smiled, some fixated on every word, and some continuously looked down at their phone. My speech's sole intention was to give an example of what I wanted, a real human story with a point at the end. Hopefully a lesson was learned, or it served as a turning point in the young lives. The day of speeches would arrive soon. Students took their crack at securing valuable points toward their final grade. By the second hour, over 20 students had spoke. There were some deaths in the family mentioned. A couple people lost a dog or a cat. And then there were stories of heartbreak from an ex. These were stories of crisis. But honestly, nothing had truly touched me. Perhaps the stories weren't well put or with enough emotion. Finally, by the third hour, one of the top students in the class approached the podium. She started off the speech by talking about her younger brother. He was about 16 years old and she was 22 at the time. She said her brother had been sad at school, but no one really knew why. He too didn't. Why was he so down? She continued on how they had thrown him a surprise birthday party. She smiled as she spoke of his party. They had music, they danced, and finished festivities with a cake. Her brother was happy, or appeared happy. She thought her brother was fine. This is when the speech shifted. She took a sigh and continued. Her mother and her started to clean up and wash the dishes. After about an hour, they wondered where her brother had gone. He was in the bathroom with the door locked. They knocked, but no answer. They knocked again, but no answer. They knew something was wrong, so they broke the door down. Her 16-year-old brother's wrists were bleeding. He was on the shower floor. Blood was everywhere. Now she was in a full cry, gasping in between sentences. She paused. I told her as a teacher, "It's okay, take your time." I was now fully engulfed into the story. I now felt my eyes water up in compassion and fear. She carried on. Her brother was alive. They called an ambulance and got him to the hospital. Our family was in disbelief. The party had went well. What happened? Why? Why? You could see her face during the speech. She was still traumatized by the moment. She would close the speech by explaining that we should take those in our life serious when they are sad or depressed. That we don't know what they're going through, but we can try to be more compassionate and empathetic. We can appreciate their pain better, or at least try. I took this moment to say some encouraging words to her and the class. Blown away. I got up from my teacher's chair and noticed a few students were laughing softly. I was angry and confused. How would this story be funny to them? One told me later, as he was leaving class, she was being dramatic. I was stunned. I didn't react. I reflected and thought for a moment. This story simply didn't resonate with them. The fact that the students could be dramatic at times could have created a bias towards this situation, this story. The class was approximately 38 students. Surely some of them didn't like the girl giving the speech. Maybe it was the fact that they had a happy family. Or maybe they had no siblings. Or maybe it was that they had seen worse and dealt with it. Who knows? Could we even test their reasons? Because they could lie. My point is, not every story, no matter how dramatic, is going to affect people the same. Until they have to relate with it. Until they have related with it, with a past story, situation, experience in their own life. During my student speech, I had felt her bravery in sharing such a story. I felt for her fear in losing a sibling. And just the fact that she was crying touched a nerve. I was proud of her. And I had a sister I lost. I had a friend that's brother committed suicide. And I just don't like to see women cry. It all resonated for me. It touched me. Now let's get back to Mike's barbecue on the 4th of July. The jerk that had no compassion for my breakup. About 10 years later after that barbecue, that breakup, that moment, I'd let it go. I'd forgot about it. And Mike had lost touch with my dad. They hadn't talked for years. When I was visiting my parents and Mike shows up randomly. Hey, how's it going? How's it going, Mike? It's been a long time. We talked for a bit. My dad talked to him for a bit. And then it came out. After a 20-year marriage, Mike was getting a divorce. His wife had been cheating for years. And now he had proof. I thought about that day at the barbecue. I won't lie. But I wasn't seeking revenge. I didn't need to give him a smart-ass comment. I had true compassion. I knew what a bad breakup felt like. But I had never witnessed direct cheating or had kids involved or assets to fight over. This was a 20-year marriage. His situation sounded a bit more rocky. Next day, I offered to have dinner with him and go have some beers. And honestly, he was surprisingly okay. He said they hadn't had sex for 2 years, and he knew she was cheating. He was preparing for this. I thought, well, at some point it will hurt more. Eventually, as the night carried on, he brought her up again and again. I listened and listened because I had been there. I knew the feeling. His breakup was a different animal than mine 10 years prior. But I knew that feeling of a fresh gash on the heart. I was there for him in the moment. I never once brought up that barbecue on the 4th of July. He never made that comment to hurt me. He made it because he was completely ignorant to my feelings, to the moment, and to a really bad breakup. We throw around the statement, well, put yourself in his or her shoes. It sounds simple, but it's really not realistic. You can't be in other people's shoes. You just gotta have been there before. And if they're not in your shoes yet, life's a marathon. It's gonna come at some point. Never take a comment from an outside individual about your breakup to the heart. Everyone's got an opinion based on their own experiences. Seek only those who want to listen and who have been through a bad breakup themselves. And those that want to be there for you. Captivate.